Most people think money loses value when prices go up, when inflation hits the headlines, when gas costs more, when groceries shrink and rent jumps. But the uncomfortable truth is this: your money usually loses value long before you ever touch it, before you swipe, before you spend, sometimes before you even see it. And the reason is very little to do with your personal choices and almost everything to do with how the modern money system quietly works behind the scenes. Imagine getting paid today. Your salary hits your account. You feel stable, secure, maybe even ahead. But at that exact moment, something invisible has already happened. The number looks the same. The digits haven't moved, yet the buying power underneath that number has already slipped. Not because of inflation tomorrow, not because of a crisis next year, but because of decisions made weeks, months, sometimes years earlier by institutions you will never vote for and mechanisms you were never taught to question. This matters right now because for the first time in decades, people are noticing the gap. Wages rise slowly, prices jump fast, savings feel heavier but by less, and the usual explanations don't quite satisfy anymore. We're told inflation is temporary, or global, or supply chains, or psychology, all partly true, but none of them explain the deeper issue: how value quietly drains from money before it ever enters the real world. To understand this, you don't need economics jargon, you need timing, because money is not neutral in time. It matters when it is created, who gets it first, and who gets it last. And that timing creates winners and losers long before inflation shows up on a receipt. Let's start at the beginning. New money does not appear evenly. It doesn't rain down on everyone at once. It enters the system through very specific doors: governments, banks, financial markets, large institutions. That's where money is born, not in your paycheck, not in your savings account. Those are downstream. When central banks create money, they don't mail checks to households first. They inject liquidity into the financial system. They buy assets. They lower borrowing costs. They make capital cheaper for those already connected to the system. That money moves fast at the top. Stocks rise, bonds stabilize, real estate heats up. Prices of assets inflate first, and here's the key point: while that is happening, prices for everyday goods haven't changed yet. Not because value hasn't shifted, but because it hasn't reached you yet. The system takes time to transmit that change. So by the time your paycheck increases, if it increases at all, the purchasing power attached to it has already been diluted. The value was absorbed earlier, upstream, quietly. This is why asset prices often surge before consumer prices do. It's also why people who own assets tend to feel richer before inflation becomes obvious, and why people who rely only on wages feel confused when life suddenly becomes more expensive, even though nothing changed. Now, here's where it gets uncomfortable, because this isn't a bug in the system. It is the system. Money loses value in stages, and the first stage happens long before inflation shows up in official numbers. It happens when money is created faster than the economy's ability to produce real goods and services. That excess doesn't disappear. It has to go somewhere, and it goes where money flows fastest. Think of it like pouring water into a layered structure. The top fills first. It spills over slowly. By the time it reaches the bottom, the water pressure has already reshaped the structure above it. This is why official inflation always feels late, because it is. It measures the final stage of a process that started long before prices moved. There's also something else quietly working against your money. Interest rates. When rates are held artificially low for long periods, saving becomes a losing game. Your money earns less while prices creep higher. Even modest inflation quietly erodes cash balances year after year. The loss doesn't feel dramatic. It feels boring, predictable, easy to ignore, which makes it powerful. 10% inflation is loud. 2 or 3% inflation over decades is silent. But the math is relentless, and this is where irony enters the story. Because the very tools used to stabilize the economy often guarantee that money loses value over time. Stability is purchased with gradual erosion. Predictability is paid for with dilution. The system doesn't aim to preserve the value of money. It aims to manage behavior, encourage spending, discourage hoarding, keep money moving. From the system's perspective, money that sits still is a problem. Now zoom out. Because money doesn't just lose value within a country, it loses value globally. When large economies print or borrow heavily, the effects don't stop at their borders. Currency values shift, trade imbalances widen, capital flows chase yield. Smaller economies absorb shocks they didn't create, and again, the impact shows up later, quietly, in prices, in wages, in debt. This is why global inflation often feels synchronized, even when local explanations differ. The monetary system is deeply interconnected. One lever moves many outcomes, and here's the part that's rarely said plainly: money losing value is not evenly distributed pain. It is asymmetrical. Those closest to the creation point can adapt, hedge, invest, move. Those farthest from it experience the loss as higher prices and shrinking margins. It's not about intelligence or effort, it's about position. Now contrast this with the hype. We're told that budgeting harder will fix it, that financial literacy alone solves the problem, that better choices beat structural forces. Those things help, but they don't change the math of a system designed to slowly devalue money over time. This is why people feel like they're running in place, doing everything right, saving, planning, being careful, and still falling behind. The uncomfortable truth is that money is not a stable measuring stick. It's a moving one, and the movement almost always favors those who receive it first. So what are the bigger implications? It means traditional saving strategies no longer work the way they once did. It means wealth gaps widen even without bad intent. It means trust erodes when people sense the game is tilted, but can't quite explain how. And it means every promise made in nominal dollars quietly assumes future erosion. Pensions, debt, government budgets all rely on money being worth less later than it is now. That's not accidental, it's structural, and the final question isn't whether money will keep losing value. History suggests it will. The real question is whether people will continue to measure security in numbers that look stable while the ground underneath keeps shifting. Because once you see how money loses value before you even spend it, you start to wonder whether the system is broken or working exactly as designed.